I was around 8 or 9 when this happened. I went to visit my grandparents on the other side of town. They lived 5 minutes away from an elementary school, and I would often walk to it to play on the playground. A young family with a daughter my age lived right next door, and we would play together whenever I came over. One day, we decided to take a walk after having fun at the park. We still had energy, and dinner wasn't ready yet, so we wandered through the neighborhood. We were laughing and picking flowers along the way when I noticed a white van. We continued our walk, and before you know it, I had completely forgotten all about it. My friend had stopped to tie her shoe, and I was looking around for more flowers to pick when I realized that we had gone a lot further than we ever had before. I didn't recognize the houses in front of me, and it was going to get dark soon. As soon as the thought enters my mind, I see the white van rounding the corner, heading towards us. My stomach sank. It was the same van from earlier, but something seemed different. They stopped in the middle of the road and stared at us. I tell my friend that we need to go, and I ask her if she recognizes the houses around us or the van in front of us. She doesn't. I tell her that we should probably head home, and she agrees. The van then drives past us slowly, and the man in the passenger seat rolls down the window.
Do you guys know where Apple Street is?
We both say no, and I get a good look at the van. It has a picture of a vacuum on the side, and a company name I don't remember. He tells us that they're cleaning houses in the neighborhood, and they can't find the street that they're looking for. I know I'm not supposed to talk to strangers, so I grab my friend's hand and tell the man sorry, but no, we don't, and we keep walking. We begin our walk home, and my uneasy feeling grows stronger every step of the way. We were going back the same way we came when I started to recognize the houses. We're about 10 minutes away. Then I hear it, the van coming down the street behind us. I tell my friend to grab a rock from the path because now I'm sure they're following us. I'm scared, but I know that we're not too far from my grandparents' house, and we can get there faster if we run. So that's what we do. Picture 2 terrified 8-year-old girls running down the street with softball-sized rocks in their hands. I look back and I see the van racing after us, and I can hear someone yelling. It's the man driving, and I hear the word directions. I stop because I'm out of breath, and I think maybe that's all they wanted, and I was probably just overreacting. Boy, was I wrong. As soon as I stop, my friend does too. So does the van. I get a good look at the driver this time, and he's explaining that all they wanted was directions. But I know that something's wrong, and before I get the words out, the sliding door opens, and a man in the back is coming towards us. We throw the rocks at him and run as fast as we can to my grandparents' house. When we get inside, we start crying our eyes out. My mom had apparently arrived while we were gone, and I run to her and my grandma and tell them what happened. She runs outside, yelling at my grandma to call the cops while she looks for the van. She sees it parked 2 houses down, and she charges it like a bull. I had ran out after her, so I'm standing there, screaming. My mom is tiny, but she is fierce and in mama bear mode. The van starts to pull away, and I'll never forget what happened next. She jumps onto the hood of the van and starts beating on their window. They stop, and she yells that she's making a citizen's arrest, and they need to stop their car. They act like they're going to, and they slowly pull over and park. She gets off the hood, and as soon as she does, they race off. Thank God she managed to remember their license plate. When the police get there, they ask us so many questions, and I tried to explain everything that happened from the moment I first saw the van. They run the license plate number, and it comes back as out of state. They say that I can go now and they want to speak to my mom alone. When she comes back inside, I hear her talking to my grandma in the kitchen. What she said makes my blood run cold to this day. The man who owned the car was linked to a kidnapping out of state and had a bolo out for his arrest. The police ended up arresting all 3 men, and we had to go in and give an official statement. My friends, my mom, and I picked all 3 of them out of the lineup, and they were charged with the kidnapping out of state and our attempted kidnapping. I never went walking in my grandparents' neighborhood after that, and I still cringe when I see a white van. That's when I realized there is a reason for all the creepy white van stories, after all. After a night of binging everyone's stories, I thought I'd throw mine into the mix. This story happened almost 2 years ago. It was summertime, and I was about to turn 21. Even after the fact, I still looked as though I was underage. For reference, I'm a female, fairly short and baby-faced. This particular summer, I worked at a truck stop, combined with 2 fast food chains. I worked in one of the fast food areas. Something else to mention is that this truck stop was located right next to a very busy highway. This meant that we received an abundance of customers on a daily basis. Our fast food chain was employed only by women, particularly high school students, as this area did not have many places to find work. Once I began working there, I began to notice that one man stood out every time he came into our workplace. This man was in his 40s, with black hair, thin stick, dressed in all black, and wearing a fedora. No matter what, he always wore the fedora. As someone who had just started working there, I really made it a point to focus on making connections with the customers, like making eye contact, introducing myself, lots of smiling, etc. Basically just trying to be the best employee that I could be. The first time this man came in, he was straight-faced and did not speak much. I took his order, and when he left, my coworkers began to talk about how he was a weird guy. Fedora Man would come into our workplace every single day and comment on my very underage coworkers' appearances, even go as far as to ask them for their phone numbers. My coworkers have told him many times that they are not interested, underage, etc. This did nothing to deter him. I was immediately concerned, but tried to give him the benefit of the doubt. My second encounter with Fedora Man was vastly different. This time, Fedora Man seemed eager to see me. I recall so vividly how he watched me serve every single customer in line. Each time he got closer to ordering, his smile would grow wider and wider. Picture a closed smile turn wide with all of his teeth showing each time he got closer to me. Once it was his turn, the first thing that came out of his mouth was,
"You're a lot nicer than all the girls here."
Not once did that creepy smile leave his face. I don't even think I saw him blink. I thanked him and continued with his order. Fedora Man thanked me, and off he went. After about an hour or so of serving customers, I was asked by the manager to step into her office. Once inside, my manager gave me a heads up that Fedora Man called our gas station to personally let her know that I was a great addition to the team. Fedora Man also asked for my number. My manager hoped that by telling Fedora Man that I was underage, even though I wasn't, and this didn't stop him from hitting on my other underage coworkers, that this would deter him from trying to get my number. His exact words per my manager were,
"I don't mind a little jailbait."
My manager let Fedora Man know that this was incredibly inappropriate. Fedora Man simply laughed and hung up the phone. As Fedora Man had tried asking for multiple girls' numbers, she decided to finally do something about it and notify our male supervisor. The next day, our supervisor approached Fedora Man as he walked into the store. They talked for a few moments before Fedora Man stomped out. He did not look happy. Later on, my manager would tell me that our supervisor did not ban Fedora Man from the store, but rather let him know that he was making us uncomfortable. This did not deter Fedora Man, as he returned the next day and specifically asked for me. I was nervous, but still served him as it was my job. This time, Fedora Man asked for my number in person. If I wasn't working, I would have said hell to the fucking no. But as I was on the clock, I politely declined. Fedora Man continued to smile and show all of his teeth. Fedora Man continued to return every single day and specifically ask for me. After a few days of this going on, I finally broke down and asked to work in the back of the store every single time he came in so I could avoid seeing him. Fedora Man made me incredibly uncomfortable, and I wanted to avoid seeing him as much as possible. The last time I ever saw Fedora Man was a week or two right before summer ended. After weeks of trying to desperately avoid Fedora Man, things finally came to a boil. On this day, I worked the early shift and therefore began to do the usual stuff, turning the machines on, prepping items, etc. My manager was the only one with me, and she had stepped out for a few moments for a cigarette break. Usually, we don't get customers that early in the morning. My guard was down, and since I was in the back of the store where no customers were allowed, I had some music playing. I was singing along to the music and prepping for the day when I saw a black mass dart to the right of me. I turned off my music and asked if anyone was there. No answer. As I was already jittery from Fedora Man, I simply told myself that I was overreacting, and I turned on my music once more. After a few moments, I felt someone behind me. I turned, and who do you think it was? Fedora Man. I let out a yelp in surprise, which only made Fedora Man laugh heartily. Fedora Man stated that he was hungry and he wanted some food. I immediately began to scold him and remind him that this area was for workers only. At this point, my manager returns from her cigarette break and sees that Fedora Man is in the back of the store. She shouts at him to leave and states, "She doesn't even like you," in the biggest voice she could muster. Fedora Man smiled his toothy smile and simply walked to the front of the store. I refused to serve him and let my manager know that he needed to be banned from the store. I wish I could say that this story had a happy ending, but it doesn't. I ended up leaving that job a week later, and I haven't gone back since. I occasionally talk to my old coworkers, and they have let me know that Fedora Man still comes in every day, hitting on the underage girls there and asking when I'll be coming back to work. Fedora Man, let's not ever meet again. First, a little context as to where, when, how this occurred. I was in rural New Brunswick, Canada, at my grandparents' home. They had both recently passed away, and my family was there to help clean up the house. It's located near the end of a dirt road that ends in a little lake, so there's rarely any traffic down the road, except occasionally during the day when people come to kayak, swim in the lake, etc. The house has no running water because the pipes froze during the winter when no one was there, but there's a little building about 200 to 300 meters, a 2 to 3 minute walk, by the lake shore that has public bathrooms and showers. It's unlocked 24/7, so we had been using this facility as our place to shower and use the toilet. So it's about 12:10 a.m. on a Monday morning, Sunday night, and after a week of avoiding the gross bathrooms, I was just like, fuck it. I want to go take a shower and clean up before I go to bed. So I grab a towel and a flashlight and I start walking down there. Now, keep in mind, without a flashlight, it's absolutely pitch black and you can't see anything, which means that anyone who has a light is very visible from basically all sides. At this point, everything was pretty chill and I was just enjoying the peaceful walk when suddenly, towards the end of the road, I hear a car's engine start and lights flick on. The vehicle was facing away from me, so I saw taillights only. Immediately, I'm like, WTF? Because why are there people down here at this hour? Because you rarely see anybody parking down there, even during the day, so I'm already a little bit creeped out. The car does a 3-point turn and starts coming up the road towards me. It's an older model Chrysler 300 that looks beat up AF. I've also never seen this vehicle out here before, which is weird because this is the kind of place that only locals use, so you get to know the cars around here. It's pitch black and I can't see inside the car. It drives past me super slow speed, and then I breathe a sigh of relief as it starts to leave towards the main road. At this point, I'm almost at the dirt path where the bathrooms are, and I can see the light from the building. They have a small light on 24/7. That's when I turn around, and the car is doing another 3-point turn, coming back towards me. At this point, I'm freaking out, like, what is going on? So I turn off my flashlight and just run towards the bathrooms area as the car is making its way back. I duck in behind this storage shed for hiding. The car passes the bathrooms, but immediately stops, turns around again, so the headlights are now facing in my direction, and then everything goes silent and the lights turn off. I was tempted to go in the building and do my bathroom business, but they would have seen me walking into the light, and I felt unsafe coming out of the bathroom if I didn't know who was out there. I hear some doors opening and closing on the car, and I thought I heard the sound of a voice, but it was faint. I saw the light from a headlight or flashlight over by the car, and I heard someone walking around. I was so fucking terrified. I thought I was going to get kidnapped or something because I'm all alone in the middle of nowhere with some weirdo in a beat-up car. I wanted to run back towards the house, but I couldn't because the car was right in front of my hiding spot, so I couldn't go that way. After about 25 minutes of sitting there, I stopped hearing the noises, but the car was still there, so I decided to bushwhack through the forest to cut back to the house and avoid the car. So I safely made it back to the house, and I never saw that car again. My conclusion is that maybe they were doing something illegal, and they saw me coming with my flashlight, so they got out of there because they thought I was a cop coming to investigate. They then saw it was just some random kid, so they decided to come back and keep doing whatever illegal thing. Seems like the most likely explanation, but I'm glad I didn't have to find out. If anyone has any ideas of what might have been going on, please share.